This video today is going to ask you guys a couple of questions, and I'm very much excited to get your thoughts because right now we've got the biggest update from Yoshi-P, in which we're seeing the stopping of sales of Final Fantasy XIV. That's going to take a little bit of time. We'll talk about it as we dive through the post. We're also seeing more free time, an additional 14 days being doled out, and currently they are not planning on delaying the Savage Raid patch 6.05 that is still set for January 4th. There's a lot of detail in here, and because everybody here on the internet, I have to say thank you so much to everybody who's been working hard on reporting these 2002 errors. They found a bug dating from 1.0 that has been causing this very problem. So the shadow of 1.0 still kind of creeping its little, fingers into the launch of Endwalker. I guess only fitting. I guess there's a theme here in a way. I still can't spoil the game for you. I haven't actually played the expansion due to a lot of these issues. Planning on starting on Friday. Hopefully, if you've enjoyed the story, I can't wait to talk to you guys about it here in a couple of hopefully days or weeks. I don't know how long it's going to take me. Anyway, this is a big meaty post. I'm going to go through the details like I like to do so you have the core information of what Yoshi-P is actually saying. We're going to discuss it obviously in the comments. Also, I'll give you guys my thoughts as we go through the video itself. Always try to differentiate what Yoshi-P is saying versus my own thoughts on it, because the internet's the internet and misinformation is a reality. It's something I try to fight against. Sometimes successful, sometimes, I could definitely do a better job. So thanks for being here with me. If you are new here, hello, welcome to the channel. My name's Brian. If you're a returning subscriber, you smashingly sexy individual. Thanks for coming back. That's what you get for subscribing, by the way. Free compliments, sometimes titles. Who knows? We like to have a lot of fun around here in the internet webs. I don't know why I said internet. Internet, it's a new word. Let's do it. All right. Hello, this is Nokia Yoshida, producer and director of Final Fantasy XIV. This post is dated as of December the 15th, 2021. If you're listening to this in 2022, hopefully these issues have resolved themselves by then, but I'll be keeping you guys up to date as we continue forward in our journey here. We apologize for the ongoing congestion that has occurred since early access and the official launch of Endwalker. It's been nearly 2 weeks since the start of the early access, and players are still experiencing substantial congestion when logging into the game. And as we have new content set to release in upcoming patches, I'd like to provide you guys several updates on our plans to address these issues. Regarding additional game time compensation, currently already gotten 7 days. So we're aware with long waiting times into the game, we are preventing players from playing, and for this, we sincerely apologize. In response to this, we recently granted 7 days of game time, which burned through. We all burned through that really quickly, but he continues. But now we'll also be granting an additional 14 days, bringing our total to 21 free days of game time. Now, let's talk about who this applies to, and we're going to talk about this a little bit more detail. This will apply to all players, including those with multiple accounts, who own the full version of the game with an active subscription as of Tuesday, December 21st at 12 a.m. PST, which is the scheduled release date for patch 6.01. Further details regarding eligibility will be announced separately, so just note that we will cover that if there's any kind of questions. So if you guys are kind of curious and you need help understanding what that means, let me know. I will make sure I get you more detail. Note, the thing that I noticed is that they don't talk about additional granting of free time. Yoshi-P in his original 7 days said more free time might be coming, as they're kind of waiting to see how it shakes out. We don't have a commitment of more further free game time in the future, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm not expecting it. If these problems continue to persist, if they continue to become unplayable, Yoshi-P without the granting of free time really only is then giving players the unfortunate option to unsubscribe. That's one of the core aspects that I know a lot of people who aren't affected are having a hard time understanding. They feel, at least from my perspective, that you're attacking Final Fantasy XIV because you couldn't adjust your schedule, and things like that. And talking with you guys, a lot of us who've been impacted, truck drivers, doctors, some of y'all don't have choices in that matter, and I get it. But this is, I think, a good step. However, I would be kind of curious to see as we get into January, as we get into February, what that ultimately looks like. There's some really good news or potential good news as we get into the post, talking about new servers. We've been talking about that here for a little bit, but this is so far, that's 21 days of game time. If you don't want to accept this free time, and this is another part of the player base and community here, to speak to them, you can't reject it. I would point you to the cash shop in that regards. If you are having obviously a good time and you don't want to like Yoshi-P, I've been playing, I'm having a good time, I want to support you guys. If that's the mindset there, which is a perfectly fine way to think about it. Yeah, I would say go to the cash app, feel free to put some money into that. That's going to go into their pockets anyway. So you actually do have options, but there is no way to reject this gift of free time. It's just going to be automatically applied to your account. All right, here's perhaps some of the biggest news. I've seen a lot of people frustrated talking about how they've oversold the game and they're stopping it. They're stopping sales of the physical and the digital. Now there's going to be some rollout struggles with that. So let's go ahead and dive into what Yoshi-P says. Players are currently experiencing extreme long wait times due to the dense concentration of play hours, which far exceed our server capacity, especially during peak times. So we will have decided to temporarily suspend the sale and delivery of Final Fantasy XIV Starter Edition and Complete Edition. Additionally, those with an active subscription are prioritized to log in, so free trial players are unable to log in outside the late night and early morning hours, so we are also temporarily suspending new registrations of the free trial. These temporary suspensions will be phased over the next few days as we work with our retail partners. We will be coordinating with them as swiftly as possible, but please bear in mind this will be a gradual process. When you think of a global company, when you think of like the fact that you got to go call Best Buy and Target and Walmart, who all want to sell your product, especially in the physical sense, sitting on their shelves, that's going to cost them money if they can't sell it. So there's a real like distribution cost, something not often usually thought of in the digital world. As far as the digital goes, that seems to be very easy and straightforward. You will be able to do digital upgrades to the collector's edition. So if you already have the game, you can still upgrade to digital items. There's no cutoff of that, but they will be suspending sales of the digital version as well. Anyway, we will also be spending all new advertisements. So advertisements going to be turned off. However, this will not be possible to suspend some of the advertisements due to the nature of how they were actually set up. We appreciate your patience and understanding regarding of this matter. Another massive change. One of the things we even saw last year with Halo, that they were, hey, we delayed the game, but certain advertisements and collabs had to go out. Monster had to release their cans with Halo XP cans and stuff like that. If you guys remember, 2020, what a year that was. Anyway, I think that's just interesting when you start thinking of just the sheer logistics in terms of all the moving parts going on right now. Expansion Packs Collector's Edition upgrades will actually continue to be available for existing players, so they may upgrade it as needed. And those of you who have been inviting their friends and family who have been considering joining, as well as our retail partners, we sincerely apologize for any inconvenience this may cause and ask for your understanding and cooperation in order to reduce congestion. We will continue to monitor the situation as we consider the timing around resuming sales. So, for the time being, Final Fantasy XIV sales have stopped. 21 free game time or days has been granted to the players. Here is where you are legends. One of the things we see in the comments, and I've seen a lot, and when I'm reporting on what Yoshi-P says, and one of the things that's frustrated me is that playing on landline, the constant saying like, hey, the Wi-Fi connection is the issue, and then seeing the Reddit community come together, seeing people test it and be like, it doesn't look like that. Based off the code, it looks like there's something else going on. Well, Yoshi-P's acknowledging that for us all here right now. In regards to Error 2002 that occurs during login queues, outside of the causes related to unstable connections, we've confirmed a bug. This bug was part of a login-related program created back in Final Fantasy XIV version 1.0. And thanks to the reports we've tested and the tests carried out by many of our players, we were able to identify the cause of the problem. We apologize for not being able to identify the issue on our end, and thank you all for submitting your detailed reports regarding this matter. Thank you. For me, this has been one of the hardest things. This is what he says, and then here's what the community says. It's like there's clearly something going on here, and it's good to see that. I really love when I see that it is a relationship. But anyway, we'll continue. Although the code for fixing the bug is actually prepared already, applying the fix will require patching the game client, which will be addressed in patch 6.01. That's the upcoming Tuesday patch, if you guys are keeping track. That's scheduled for December 21st. As this issue occurs while waiting in the queue for a very long time, we consider releasing the patch ahead of schedule, but in the end we decided to include it with patch 6.01 as there's already a lot of new code in the pipeline for the patch, and interrupting the process and verifying them may lead to other bugs. We apologize for the inconvenience and ask you for your patience a little bit longer. For context, this is actually really important from development. It can be very dangerous to release early. One of the things AGS with New World has learned, obviously, the hard way. In order that they're rushing to fix issues, introduce new issues, and sometimes this unfortunate answer in the game development world and even in the programming world, that's a part of what I do, for a living. That is something where it's like sometimes you just got to slow down because you're gonna actually make it worse by rushing. And so it's important that we want to have a stable game client. Like if they can get the queues stabilized, right, and you can get logged into the game, that in and of itself, I think is going to solve a lot of the heartburn that we've seen with the launch of Endwalker. Upcoming patch schedule. All right, so let's talk about the future as we dive into the upcoming raids. Due to high levels of congestion, we are aware that there's been a lot of discussion in the community about the release of Pandemonium Savage in patch 6.05, scheduled for Tuesday, January 4th, 2022. Regarding this, as long as there are no major issues, we plan to release the patch as scheduled. We understand that there are concerns about the world first races in the first week of progression, but patch 6.05 will add a number of new elements, such as the addition of the new Algian Tombstone and new crafting recipes, as well as the treasure hunt dungeon, the Excitatron 6000. Many players are looking forward to the content aside from the high-end duties, and furthermore, considering the balance of rewards and item levels from the said content, we cannot withhold only Pandemonium Savage, and rebalancing this would delay the patch release by several weeks and would affect patch 6.1 and beyond. We regret to say that in the midst of the major congestion, as mentioned earlier, unless there are major issues, we plan to release the patch as scheduled, and we ask for your understanding and cooperation in this matter. Updates to the addition of the new logical data centers and worlds. Here's where my frustration kind of bleeds into the last video I made. If you guys haven't seen it yet, I think it's worth your time. It is a longer post, but we dive into a lot of comments. My frustration is there's a lot of assumptions that people are trying to present as facts. Oh, they don't care about, us. They only care about profits, and they're not spending money on new servers. That is such an assumption. Like, obviously we don't know every little bit of detail at its core. This is where I look at the most hopeful aspect of it and recognize from my personal experience, not just with, Yoshi-P and this game, but in the business world, how things really play out. They're like when you talk about a single world in Final Fantasy, you're talking about like hundreds of servers. So it's not as like, oh, I just went down to Best Buy and picked up a PC. So there's a lot of oversimplification in this regard. I want to be fair to both sides in this matter. I think that's important to always try to hear both sides in this regards. But like, I do ask that for those who are frustrated that feel like Square Enix hasn't spent, money on servers, they haven't been paying attention. I think the issues are just more complex than we know. Now, ultimately, time will tell. Because if they don't add new servers and we're looking at 2023, 2024, that's ridiculous. But we've got a date here. We've got a date where we're going to get a roadmap for what this is going to look like. So let's go ahead and dive into it. And he says, since July 2021, in order to accommodate the significant increase in the number of new players, we've been working towards building a new logical data center and adding new worlds. Now, however, due to the effects of COVID-19's pandemic, we have not been able to make any additions due to the suspension of semiconductor production and manufacturing factories, decrease in production quantities, as well as a shortage of raw materials. Now, although we are investing much more money than usual, our attempts to alleviate the ongoing congestion situation are being delayed due to the physical shortage of server equipment. With the help of IT equipment vendors from all over the world, we are slowly beginning to receive information about delivery dates and figures, meaning when you get in, like one of the things within sales, and we've had to do this in my world, where if you sign today, we can put you in and you will be ready to start in 6 months. We've like in software development based off of, I've created enterprise level software that like services like, hundreds of thousands of people. And what happens is like sometimes that can be highly custom based off of the client and the size. And so a lot of that work is being done and we only have so many resources. And so sometimes as a part of sales, like you can sign today and we can say this is your start date. But if you want to come back in like 3 weeks, we got other people who want to sign. Your start date might not be for a year and a half. And yeah, like we're looking for more people. We're looking at how to increase and lower that, that time to not even go live, but the time to start. and it can all vary based off of how complex the situation is. And so like I've experienced that complexity firsthand, and it wasn't that, at least from my experience, that my bosses were just trying to pinch pennies. It's like sometimes we're looking and we start like hiring and working with recruiters, which is anybody's ever hired anybody from a recruiting firm knows, like that's not cheap. it's very expensive. And then, anyway, that's probably too much information. Let's go ahead and continue. So they are going to be getting about dates and figures, considering the high specification requirements of 14 servers, along with the fact that adding a single logical data center requires hundreds of servers, or excuse me, it's data center rather than world, excuse me. We invariably need much more time, but we are starting to see some progress. In line with this, the server and infrastructure teams are working together to plan for new additions. We hope to be able to provide some sort of a roadmap by the end of January 2022. This is a good bit of hope right here. A roadmap, whether they hit January 2022 or if it's February 2022, just the fact that we're going to get some updates on what this is going to look like, and it's not that much further from now. It might seem like that's like a long time away, but we're almost into January, so it is how it is. We are considering adding servers in each region, especially plans for large-scale additions in North America and Europe, and we're looking at the number of servers, infrastructure, construction time, power issues, the server rack situation to see if we should do this sequentially or one big push. Either way, the plan is to introduce a large number of additions, which we intend to carry out quickly and safely with as minimal inconvenience to our players as possible, and we will follow up in regards to this matter as we progress. All right, now let's talk about errors triggered by specific payments. Since the release of Endwalker, we've received a large number of inquiries from players who have been unable to play the game due to errors which occur during payment or code registration. After reviewing the details of these inquiries, we found that the amount involved are being accessed from the same environment as those used by a group of people who are believed to be providing suspicious services. As a result, these accounts were determined to be using suspicious services that temporarily accessed user accounts to log in to make payments or create accounts on their behalf. We were blocked from payment and code registrations as part of the fraud prevention. Such suspicious servers have a history of theft and other fraudulent credit card activity, and we cannot do anything other than safeguard against such activity and cannot restore those accounts. As a reminder, we ask you to refrain from using such suspicious services, I struggle with that word, for your own good. We will continue to strive to prioritize our utmost support and that everyone around the world can play comfortably. We sincerely apologize for the inconveniences caused by the ongoing server congestion. We appreciate your understanding and this cooperation. So, like I said, this is a huge update. 21 days game time currently delivered to the players. So, basically, right now up to next week in this regard. So you think about it, 3 weeks from launch. Like that's taking us right up to the launch of the Savage Raid. So I think that's good. Is it enough? That's the question. Like I said, there's going to be some questions for you guys here at the end of the video. Is 21 days enough? Is it too much? Is it too little? Let me know. Sound off below. Regarding the suspension of sales, the fact that those are turned off, and advertisements, that I think that's a big sign. We saw that happen already this summer, and the fact that they're doing that again. Obviously, like this isn't what Square Enix wants. Like that, just the idea in my mind that Square Enix is like this is costing them money, right? This is costing them both subscription time, but potential sales. And also, just like I've had a couple conversations, and we covered that in my last video, where people are like, would you recommend this game? It's like, depending on what time you play. If you are a second shift worker, yeah, like this is a great time to play Final Fantasy XIV. You're going to have a great experience. If you're not, like, no. And we've seen that. And we've seen people have a really mature approach to it. We've seen people who aren't in Endwalker saying like, I'm in Heavensward. I'm going to pause for now because I can't play, or I'm in Stormblood. I can't play. I'm in ARR. Just started a couple of weeks ago. I can't play right now. What is up? And for a lot of people, there is this, like, they haven't been with the game that long. They don't know that this is not, common. This is like this weird sign of health and frustration. It's really great that the game is this exciting and so many people are excited to play it and return to Final Fantasy XIV. But it sucks because the service isn't sustainable, and it obviously shows by Yoshi-P's actions. I trust in Yoshi-P. I believe in his leadership. I think this is important for us all to know, to think about. And I wonder also to those of you who've been so frustrated Like, is this a good sign? Does this help? And that's all I ask, right? Because all we can do is kind of wait to see what Yoshi-P and his team are going to do. This has me hopeful for the patch 6.01 to see if that can fully resolve the 2002 errors. I hope that that is the case, and we'll let you guys know how that progresses. I'm going to wrap up this video. I'm trying not to keep these too long. Hopefully this was good information for you. All thoughts are welcome, positive and negative. Love to hear them. Just let me know why you're thinking the way you think, and let's have those conversations down below. But anyway, guys, for Ginger Prime, my name is Brian. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being here. Hopefully you have a fantastic day. Hopefully I'll see you in my next video. But until then, take care.
I just want to say I'm really glad you're feeling better, and I love the videos. Well, I love you too. Michelle? Shoot for the moon, and so even if you fail, you'll reach the stars. Go for the 100K subscribers. Yeah.